on the teaching of St. John of the Cross on prayer life, today in particular, the prayer experience of the beginners. John followed the traditional division of the three categories: beginners, proficient, and perfect. And he looks at prayer life as a journey. So he would consider these three stages as three milestones of prayer or one's journey towards God. Now, who are these beginners? The beginners are those who have decided to turn seriously to God. They are to a certain extent detached from temporal things. That means these are all good people, good Christians, or good religious who had been leading an ordinary, normal spiritual life. They had their own prayer experience, but they reach at a certain point, they feel a sort of dissatisfaction for the prayer they are leading now. Hear people saying, I am not happy with it. I am not satisfied with it. There is something lacking. So that negative feeling is also an invitation to go deeper into prayer life, God experience. On the other hand, it also comes from a positive, earning, longing for God experience prayer life. Sometimes those who have attended a good retreat or have read a good book or conversation with a spiritual person may feel that I must improve, I must make progress. So that is the positive earnings of love for God. John speaks about it in his poetry, Dark Night. By the way, John is a poet and a writer. And his major works are always preceded by a poem. So the four main works are Dark Night, Ascent of Mount Carmel, Dark Night, Spiritual Canticle, and The Living Flame of Love. And here, in the Ascent of Mount Carmel, he takes the poem Dark Night. One dark night, fired with love's urgent longings, the sheer grace. I went out unseen, my house being now all still. The beginners have, in a way, controlled their five external senses. Their body is put to sleep so that the soul may go freely. That means, that's how he gives image like a lover goes out of oneself in search of the beloved. The person goes in search of soul in the middle of darkness or putting them into still. So there is that earnings of love, longing for love. So at a certain moment, one feels that my prayer life is not that sufficient. I am not satisfied with it. I must grow. It's a good sign. And the beginners have that. And the beginners, as we said, are people who have seriously turned to the Lord, making all possible effort to grow in their prayer life. And they are also, to a certain extent, detached from temporal things. John explains it in prologue and also in Dark Night. Now, the beginners have some good qualities and also some weak points. One of their good qualities is practice of meditation. They are not satisfied with the vocal prayer. They want to have a taste for mental prayer. And John does not give his own method of mental prayer, because by the time he wrote this Ascent of Mount Carmel and other books, the method of prayer was already written by St. Teresa and was diffused among the friars and nuns of the Reform. And John, in the prologue, he says he is writing to the Carmelite friars and Carmelite nuns. He never thought that this would become a universal asset on mystical theology. He had in view the friars and nuns of the Reform. And he knew by the time he wrote it, Saint Teresa has already taught them how to meditate, how to make mental prayer. So he doesn't repeat it. Nevertheless, he speaks about the importance or the value of meditation on nature. For him, nature is a book about God. It awakens love for Him. It helps us to know the Creator and His ways. It is very profitable, especially for the contemplatives. And we know from his own experience, his poem, The Fountain, is the result of this meditation on nature. That was written while he was in the prison. He was hardly 36 years old, a young friar. And it was written on the occasion of the feast of Corpus Christi. John loved two feasts, Christmas and Feast of Corpus Christi, maybe because he was always living with the Carmelite students and young friars. So such houses of formation, these feasts are very solemn and very grand. Unfortunately, these two feasts were celebrated while he was in the prison. 77 December to 78 August, middle of August. For Christmas, he wrote 9 romances. In our terms, he wrote his own carols. He was singing all alone in the prison, not even able to celebrate the Mass. And for the Corpus Christi, also he was unable to celebrate the Mass. But he composes that beautiful song, the poem, The Fountain. The connection with our meditation nature is by the side of the prison cell where he was imprisoned. The stream may not be a river, a large stream, River Tahoe, which was flowing. Its giggling sound, listening in the thick silence, for a poet, it was a music. He was enjoying the flow of the stream. And from there, that is the natural experience. From there, he goes a degree higher. He thinks about the living water, which he promised to the Samaritan woman. And then comes the Feast of Corpus Christi. He says, this living water is best found in the living bread. And only those who have a deep faith can cross it, can grasp it. And he has written 10 stanzas on the living fountain. And the most interesting thing is, after each stanza he concludes, although it is night, that he was going through the darkest moments of his 8.5 months of imprisonment. Though I am in dark, though I am unable to celebrate the Mass, I know the fountain, the living bread, which only those who have the faith can grasp it. So that means nature is a powerful source of meditation for contemplatives. I may add also another incident from the life of Saint Teresa of Lisieux, the little flower. She was hardly 8 years old. She had gone to her mother's place in Trouville. One evening they were spending on the beach. And while they were waiting for Papa, the sun was setting. And those who have had the blessing of watching a setting sun will understand what I mean. The red globe goes down, and the trail of light spread from that sun. And Therese looks at these two things. Jesus, you are that sun, and that trail of light is your grace. And she imagines herself also to be a little boat which is moving in this trail of light, and makes a promise, Jesus, I will never drive away ever from this trail of light where there is darkness. I will be always open to you, and I am safe. In other words, living in a state of grace, she promised at the age of 8, she would avoid any sin that would cause in darkness. So these are from the nature. It can be just a poetic experience, but for a contemplative, it can be also deep experience. Contemplation here, Therese was only 8. So there is no age limit for contemplation. She had that beautiful experience. So John of the Cross enjoys it. Now we may ask how to meditate on nature. Look at the creatures. Ask them, what do they speak to me about God? Listen to their voice and draw a message from them. That's how John, deep faith in the Eucharist, little flower, never to commit a sin. That's a message.